Hi, my name is Juan. I moved to Thailand September 9, 2022. Um, I'm 58 years old, getting ready to be 59 January. So, so I've been in Thailand, 3 years, and I just wanted to because I've seen a lot of videos, people talking about, oh, there's no hope in this economy. I can't retire, and I say you can. I say you can, but you have to get what's the word? You just have to get started. You just have to get started. You're gonna have to make a lot of cuts. You know, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I'm just gonna tell you what I did, which was I cut out. There was no going to the movies. There's no going out to eat. There's no streaming services. Um, there was no. I just cut everything out. I mean, there was a time, you're probably not gonna believe this. There was a time when I was eating nothing but ramen noodles. For like 7 or 8 months, I ate nothing but ramen noodles just so that I could max out my 401k, you know? And, a lot of people, because they think they don't have time, they take unnecessary risk, you know? I heard I'm not sure who was the person that said it, but I heard somebody say, don't invest in anything you don't know anything about, you know? So before you invest in anything, do your research, do your research so that you know the risk you're taking, because it's all risky, it's all risky. It's like, you have to decide, you have to decide which is going to be more painful, the pain of failure or the pain of regret, so you have to decide for yourself. But like for me, I decided, okay, I'm going to invest in the 401k, and so I started, of course, like everybody else, I started small. I contributed 6%, and then I gradually increased it. um, right before I retired, well, let's go back. Not right before I retired, but at one point, I was up to 20%. I was 10% in my traditional 401k and 10% in my 401k, a Roth 401k. So one is before taxes, the other one is after taxes, and I chose it's a strategy. I'm not the one that can explain it to you, so you're gonna have to do your own research. But that's what I did. That's what I did. And a lot of people talk about, oh, if if the stock market crashes, you're gonna lose all your money. If the company goes out of business, you're gonna lose your money. There's always a risk. There's always a risk, and I rather have, I'm just gonna throw a number out there. Let's just say I'd rather have $5,000 than $0. So you have to take that risk. You can't win unless you risk. And in 2019, my 401k was down $22,000. Because of COVID, and within about a year, my $22,000 was back. And because I never stopped contributing, I actually increased my contributions. I got the 22,000, and I had like another $15,000-$16,000 in my account. So that was me. So anyway, fast forward 2022. I couldn't take it anymore. I just couldn't take it anymore, and so I decided to retire. And at this point, I had, I had just bought. Well, in around 2019, I moved from California to Iowa because I figured I'm never gonna own a home in California. So I'll just move. So I moved to Iowa, and I bought a nice home. I had a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 2 car garage home, 1,300 square feet, something like that. I don't quite remember, but it was a nice house, and but I was just so unhappy, you know. Um, Iowa was a nice place. If you want to raise a family, I think Iowa is a good spot. But anyway, I was tired of working. I didn't want to work anymore. You know, I just didn't want to work anymore. I've been a truck driver. At this point, I've been a truck driver for, I don't know, 20, 21 years, almost 22 years. So I just had enough, you know, and so I I came to Thailand on vacation. That was my third trip, my third trip to Thailand. Um, anyway, when I went back, I just, you know how it is after you come back from vacation. It's like, I don't want to go back to work, and so I was no different, you know. But I started thinking, how can I stop working? You know, what can I do to stop working and retire now? And the wheels just started turning, and so this was around June, July, you know. So for almost 3 months, all I can think about is how can I do this? How can I do this? And I ran the numbers, I wrote down the numbers, and I tried to figure out. And the original plan was for me to retire at 60, but I'm thinking, okay, I'm 55. If I work another 5 years, is it really gonna make that much of a difference? You know? So I started doing the numbers. And I figured that, okay, if I do another 5 years, I'm only gonna be able to save maybe, I wanna say it was like $30,000. I'm like, is 5 years of my life worth another $30,000? And is $30,000 really gonna make that much of a difference in my lifestyle? You know? And as you can see, no. You know, I figured no, an extra $30,000, my 5 more years of driving a truck, you know, 5 more years of going through all that was not worth $30,000. You know, my life was worth a lot more than that. You know, so I called my realtor. I said, hey, I want to sell my house. Started, doing the process. He found a buyer within 2 weeks. Found a buyer, and so that was in August, and so all of August, the first 2 weeks, the house was sold. And I told the guy, well, I'm gonna need another two. He sold it really fast. I said, I'm gonna need time to get rid of all my things, you know. So I got rid of all my stuff. Sold my car. I had 2 cars and a motorcycle. Sold that. Sold the car. A lot of my stuff I just left. I was so like laser focused. Like I have to retire. Like I gotta get out of here. I have to get out of here. I left pretty much my garage. I left full of tools. You know, a jack, a toolbox full, like a cabinet toolbox, just full of tools, lawnmower, weed eater, hedge trimmers. I mean, you name it. I just left a bunch of stuff in the garage. I didn't care. I told my realtor, I said, do whatever you want, man. You want to sell it, you make some money off of it, do it, or just throw it in the trash. I could care less. You know, I didn't care. I just stopped caring about material things, you know. So anyway, I came to Thailand. But what I really want to talk about is, you can do it. You can still do it. I started my journey when I was 42. 42. I retired at 55. Of course, I was single. And I left the country. There's some, you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. I call the only person that really mattered at that point in my life was my mom, And I told my mom, I said, Mom, I can't do it anymore. I have to stop working. And the only way for me to stop working is I have to leave the country. She said, well, do what you have to do. If that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. And so that's what I did, and I've been here 3 years. I had a cabin built for just under $30,000. My monthly expenses are right around $1,000 a month. That includes electricity, not water, because the water, I have a water well, and so electricity, car insurance, scooter insurance for my scooter, and food. I mean, it's just under $1,000 a month. I mean, I think 1 month I spent like $750. That's it. I don't. There's no eating out. I don't have. Thai food is good. I'm not gonna say Thai food, but there. I prefer Western style food. So, everything I eat, it's a lot of steak, a lot of chicken, rice. Rarely do I eat Thai style food. That's my preference. But anyway, I chose Thailand because one is the cost of living, the cost of living, and the weather, the Philippines is a lot cheaper than Thailand, but those hurricanes, those tsunamis, and earthquakes, they have a lot of earthquakes, all the time. I couldn't do it, It is hot. Thailand is hot, it's, well, we're at the end of October, so it's like their winter, so it's getting cooler, and it's only cool for about 2 months, it's only cool for 2 months. The rest of the year is just so hot, but if you want to stop, if you want to retire, you can. You just have to cut out all the unnecessary stuff, the streaming services, the eating out, the drinking, the buying. Do you need a new car? Do you actually need a new car? Yes, it's nice, especially the cars now, they're really nice. But do you need it? Do you need that $500 a month car payment, plus insurance, plus gasoline, plus maintenance, plus, I mean, it's just, cars are a black hole, So you have to consider that stuff, and you have to stop. A lot of people will tell you, oh, don't, the 401k, if the stock market crashes, you're gonna lose your money. You could lose your money. Well, let me go back. You can lose. You only lose money if, when the stock market starts crashing, you panic and you take your money. That's when you lose money. Like I said, I was down $22,000 in 2019. I was down $22,000. By 2020, I had all my money back, plus another $16,000. So yeah. So hopefully this helps. For those people that are trying to figure out what to do. If you have any questions, just leave it in the comments, and I'll try to answer your questions on my next video. Thanks.